Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Atlanta Business Radio. Brought to you by OnPay, Atlanta's new standard in payroll. Now, here's your host.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of Atlanta Business Radio, and this is going to be a good one. But before we get started, it's important to recognize our sponsor, OnPay. Without them, we couldn't be sharing these important stories. Today on Atlanta Business Radio, we have Rohit Panedka with Microsoft. Welcome.
Thank you, Lee. Great to be here.
I am so excited to dig into this new report, the Work Trend Index that the folks at Microsoft and LinkedIn have put together. But before we get into that, can you just tell us a little bit about your work or Microsoft's work here in Atlanta?
Certainly. So I am the site leader here for Microsoft Atlanta, and I represent a great legacy of engineers that are building our M365 products, Azure products, all the ones that you're probably familiar with, our listeners are familiar with. We also have a good presence of our sales and customer solution architects that engage with customers closely to help them adopt our technology and get the business transformation benefits that they're looking for, user experience, transformation. Yeah, that's our presence here in Atlanta. We do pretty much everything that happens in our headquarters in Redmond here in Atlanta for our customers close and near to us in this region.
So what kind of Microsoft resources are available for the small to mid-sized business owner? How do you interact with that community?
So we have several ways. I mean, first and foremost, we have, many resources online and in digital methods for them to reach out to us. We also have support systems where they can reach out to get, help with adoption, or even when they're stuck with a problem, there is free support where they can call a 1-800 number and get support. We also serve them through chat modalities. We have very specific programs around helping them first, understand their jobs to be done, what are they trying to achieve for their business, and then help them adopt our technology to help resolve those jobs to be done. And then we have some persistent relationships with them to make sure that they're continuing to get the best value out of our products, their subscription, and then also, continue to look at, as their business is growing and transforming, how our products can further help them. So we have very many ways that SMBs leverages to grow their business.
Now, part of that is this Microsoft and LinkedIn Work Trend Index. Can you speak of that? Any insight that you gleaned from that?
Yeah, a little bit about the Work Trend Index itself. We started this report out back during the pandemic, where work took a pretty huge turn towards virtual, and, businesses and users alike had to adopt a lot of digital mechanisms to get work done. And we started publishing that report every year. And in 2024, we met with 31,000 users in 31 different countries. We spoke to, the S500, what we call the Fortune 500 companies. And we studied trillions of telemetry data from productivity software that our, users and businesses use. And we found a really interesting shift in work, which is more and more users are bringing AI to work and using AI to help them with their work. Atlanta in general is largely leading that trend. Almost 4 out of every knowledge worker based in Atlanta is using generative AI at work, and about 3 out of 4 of those users are bringing their own AI to work, and they're not waiting for their businesses and business leaders to catch up. They have found the value in AI to do better work and free up time, and they're taking full advantage of it.
Now, how are you defining AI in terms of use? Because, people were using AI years ago when they were asking their Alexa, what's the weather today?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. When we think about the current models, they're actually based on large language models, which, have the ability to give more contextual responses rather than general, very high level responses to the point. As an example, I use generative AI to help me with my work, particularly when I start the day. I basically come to Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, and say, help me identify all the important meetings of the day and tell me what are the critical pieces of information I would need for those meetings. What are the decisions that are waiting for me to make? Even during meetings, I ask questions like, "What's a really good question to ask based on this data?" So these kinds of very contextual, information-based, work support was not available in the previous versions of AI. This is a very powerful, mechanism to help users really, bring AI as an assistant to the work that they do, right? That's a huge shift. And as you know, many of us are not used to having assistants at work. This is really democratizing, work assistants to pretty much all the knowledge workers.
So if you were an entrepreneur or even an aspiring entrepreneur, how would you kind of leverage AI today? Like how would you kind of incorporate maybe share some use cases or some, actionable activities you would do to leverage AI throughout your entrepreneurial workday?
That is a great question. One thing that we are finding as entrepreneurs and business owners and business leaders are adopting AI is, they're pausing to think about what is their AI strategy. And what we're finding is a better way to think about AI is think about your business strategy. Your core business strategy still remains the same. Your core mission of what you want to serve your customers with or what products you want to go to market with, and apply AI to make, speed up that strategy and transform that business. Good examples of those could be when serving customers in the customer service, engagements, leveraging AI, large language models can help identify customers' issues quickly, helping the customer service agents with knowledge at hand, being proactive about the questions they can ask, making the whole customer service interaction a lot more, easy and pleasurable for customers, but also for the agents that serve them. So that's a workflow that's really up for disruption, and many of our customers are starting to leverage in that space. We also have creative development. We have Estee Lauder as a customer that actually is using generative AI for their product development and reimagining customer experience. Locally in Atlanta, we have Coca-Cola that has really looked at all stacks of their business, back office work, data analysis and data crunching, but also in some of the front office, customer serving situations. So I think we should think about, if I were an entrepreneur, I would think of every area of my business. How do I serve my customers better and faster? How do I make my employee experience better? Because with this assistance, they can be faster. They can, get rid of some of their menial tasks and focus on more of the meaningful aspects of their jobs, like being strategic and creative. And happy employees equals happy customers equals great business.
But as you mentioned, you're making it seem like it's pretty easy to integrate into your workflow. It's just ask it questions, use it as an assistant. But isn't it true that in order to really wring out as much value as possible, you have to be pretty good at asking those questions and those prompts? Because you can't just ask, how do I make my employees happier? You have to ask a more specific question in order to get an answer that's more fruitful.
Yeah, you're spot on, Lee. And, this is where we are starting to also see the emergence of what we call super users, right? These are not necessarily born, right? I mean, these are workers like you and me that are starting to leverage AI more. And it is a constant, learning and trialing and erroring kind of approach. So these what we've seen with these power users is they experiment every day. They're consistent users of AI. They use it every day. They ask, these prompts. We also see behaviors of them sharing their prompting behaviors with other coworkers that are doing similar work, learning from them. They also give feedback. So, all of the Copilot surfaces of ours have ability for you to give feedback of when the prompt didn't work. That gives us insights to make sure that the product is consistently evolving and getting better at answering users' questions. The other thing I would say from a business leadership perspective is encourage this use and experimentation. Um, you know, we have seen that organizations that have these, propensity for super users and being much of the workforce is when they hear from CEOs, when they hear from their leadership, the importance of AI, the importance of adopting it, and also, invest in some of these training. I'd also say one thing from a Microsoft perspective as well is when you open up and start using Copilot, for every prompt, you will see suggested prompts as well as a starting point. So even if you're brand new, if you start typing a certain intent of yours, we give you suggestions on prompts. But also on the prompt box right next to it, we also have what we call Copilot Lab, which is just a click away, where you can start seeing, based on the scenarios you want information on, we can guide you through that. And there's pre-canned prompts. Now, obviously, like I said earlier, as you start using this, make it very personal to your work and your situation. And the model learns with, based on your own behavior.
So then as you're kind of exploring an area, it's remembering what you've previously asked. So it's building on that rather than you starting from a blank page every time you're using it.
That is correct. It actually remembers the context of you as a user and, bases it on your data, right? And not anybody else's. So it's very, that's also important from a, data protection and privacy perspective. It's all within your, usage and usage patterns and data.
So now, how would an entrepreneur kind of leverage it in terms of inputting some of its own data into it, so it's building knowledge based on the universe that exists in that organization?
Yeah, so this is where we definitely encourage working with Microsoft, whether it's your account relationship managers or customer success managers, and have a strategy and an enterprise strategy, right? We definitely recommend that we think through your business ideas. We have Copilot scenario libraries that are very available and easy to use. So think through how and what data that you want to expose for these kinds of business use cases and worker use cases, and put some boundaries around that. It all starts with how can you be relevant with your data, but also secure with the data and the way it's used. And then obviously Copilot does its job, but I would say start with that.
Now, for the folks out there that are apprehensive about AI, there's a lot of fear in the unknown, and especially when a new disruption comes into play, there's a lot of catastrophizing of what's going to happen in worst case scenarios. What would you say to the folks that are nervous about the future with an AI assistant as part of the team?
That's a very fair concern, especially when a technology is new. We are open to those kinds of skepticism but we continue to learn, and we obviously steep ourselves in data, and data is very clear. Workers are still reeling with mounting amounts of work. Pace and volume is consistently mounting, which is why we are seeing 4 out of every 5 users in Atlanta using generative AI. We are seeing 3 out of every 4 worker bringing their own AI. Now, this is a business opportunity for business leaders. Get on with the plan, right? Make sure that we are creating a work environment and enabling our employees with those tools to take advantage of it. The third piece I would say is from a data perspective, while, you know, there is this fear that, hey, jobs could be taken away by AI, that is not entirely true in the sense when we look at the data, when we look at the LinkedIn data, almost half of the job seekers today are looking for a career change. And over two-thirds of the managers that are looking for hiring individuals are looking for people with, AI skills. They're even saying that they would hire somebody with AI skills more than experience. So I think that suggests that the future is going to be different in the sense that there will always going to be demand for people with skills, and in this case, the skills are going to be with AI skills.
Now, where are we kind of in the growth of AI? Are we at the very beginning? Is this the first inning? Or are we in the seventh inning stretch here? Where are we at?
Mm-hmm. From our perspective, we say, we are the first inning was experimentation. Now we're in the, first to second innings, which is, take these experiments and translate this into business strategy. And as more and more users and entrepreneurs and enterprises start leveraging AI for their use cases, then comes the rest of the innings, which is there's a lot more use cases to solve for. Beyond knowledge workers, there are frontline workers. There are different verticals in the industry that are probably more, sensitive to security and privacy and things like that. So I think it's going to take time and to get to all of the possible business transformation and user experience transformation. So I think we've kind of gotten through the first innings of, hey, was this novelty? Let's experiment. Now we know, no, it's actually really helping work and transform work in businesses. And we have to now start, really sticking to that journey and invest ourselves and commit ourselves to that journey, because we'll all learn. The more enterprises, entrepreneurs, and users use these products, the better they become, because that feedback is what helps us make sure that our products are meeting, everybody's needs.
So how does an enterprise level organization like Microsoft help the end user when you have a disruption like this, that, like you said, we're maybe out of the beginning stages, but it's so rapidly evolving, and the speed every year, it gets so much smarter and so much more beneficial to the end users. How do you help kind of guide or Sherpa the consumer into not only embracing the technology, but really kind of wringing out the most value from it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I think when we think about, our responsibility, that is key as well. You might have heard of investments that we're making in different markets in terms of, learning and training and skilling people with AI skills. We are also making available free courses on LinkedIn, where, there's a ton of courses there. If you go and looked up for LinkedIn Learning, for AI skills, there's a lot of courses there for from right from the beginning, where to start, all the way up to skilling up. We also have to your point of small business owners and even enterprises, Copilot scenario library. This is for folks that are in charge of making AI their strategy and their business strategy. So we have those kinds of help. And as I said, very large enterprises that have relationships with us, we have customer solution architects and success managers and relationship managers that will engage and take our customers through that journey. We're all in this together. And I say this again and again, which is, while we do that, we are being very intentional about understanding how users are using it, how enterprises are using it, what are their guardrails, and we are making sure that our product is, aligning to those, so that we can be a one step ahead in terms of making sure as people are adopting more and more, they get what they need.
So if somebody wants to learn more, connect with you, somebody on the Microsoft team on how to best kind of leverage this, is it through LinkedIn or is it through Microsoft? Is it through a combination? What coordinates would you send somebody to learn more?
Yeah, so, I would definitely encourage folks to go to Microsoft.com/work trend index or work labs. We have a lot of resources there for anybody that wants to learn more about these technologies. But if you have specific needs, depending on whether you have a relationship with Microsoft, in the case of you having a relationship with Microsoft, definitely leverage your, account managers and our, like I mentioned, our support channels that you can come through. If you want to self-study, sources like LinkedIn, feel free to use any of those. And yeah, again, if you have any, questions for us, just reach out to us on, Microsoft.com and give us feedback and we'll reach out back to you.
Well, Rohit, thank you so much for sharing your story today. You're doing such important work and we appreciate you.
Thank you, Lee, and thanks for the work you do for our Atlanta listeners.
All right, this is Lee Cantor. We'll see y'all next time on Atlanta Business Radio.